Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. The 19th edition of one of the biggest economic forums in Poland, Economic Forum in Krynica, has begun. There will be over 250 discussions about the economy, international relations and new technologies. Prime Ministers, Presidents of Parliaments, Ministers, parliamentarians, directors of the biggest partnership, experts and representatives of the world of science, culture and the media from over 60 countries will participate in the event.
Covered with shower, central walkway of Krynica Zdrój is a meeting place for Polish and international business elite, as well as politicians, journalists, all interested in development of the regional economy, because this is a central European event. Economic Forum gathers these people who are interested in strengthening economic bonds across the borders, and Poland Daily will cover it for you. Only a few days ago we saw in Warsaw the very interesting energy conversation between Poland, Ukraine and the United States. Is it resonating here at Krynica?
Yeah, of course it is, because Polish-American cooperation is one of the biggest deals in terms of security, in terms of energy supplies that were signed recently. So, of course, our American friends that are present here, the representation is just a few meters from us, will be one of the most important delegations in Krynica this year, and I'm sure that very important talks will be held during this forum.
The construction of a floating bridge over the Vistula took military engineering units less than 4 days. It consists of a pipeline through which sewage will flow to the Czajka sewage treatment plant. Construction of the bridge was undertaken after the failure of 2 collectors draining sewage from the left bank of Warsaw to the right embankment last week. Over 1 million cubic metres of sewage was discharged into the Vistula. Magdalena Balkowiec has more.
The Minister of Defense Mariusz Błaszczak tweeted news of the completion of the floating bridge by a military engineering unit. The Polish army has completed the construction of a floating bridge on which a pipeline to the Czajka sewage treatment plant in Warsaw will be placed. Thank you, soldiers, you have proven once again that we can always count on you. The decision about the construction of the bridge was made after the failure of the sewage collector used to send the waste water from the left bank of Warsaw to the Czajka sewage treatment plant on the right bank of the Vistula. The refuse water is currently pouring straight into the river because there is no other option. The projected repair date was estimated as several weeks. That is why the military made a decision to build an interim solution and build a temporary sewage collector. The mayor of Warsaw revealed that there were some maintenance shortcuts taken and heads would roll.
A
member of the board responsible for the maintenance scheduling is going to be fired today. Others who were involved in the maintenance mistakes are going to be fined accordingly. The Ministry of Environment informs that the estimated amount of raw sewage dumped into the river is 260,000 cubic meters per day. The military estimates that the emergency sewage pipeline will be operational in just 3 days. The aftermath of the large amount of refuse dumping, which is an eco-catastrophe, will last weeks or maybe even months.
The Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki gave a speech at the monument of the Jastrzębski Agreements, thanking the Polish miners for fighting for a free Poland and praising the supporters of the deal struck between the miners and the communist authorities. This took place over 39 years ago. It was then that the miners showed solidarity with the striking shipyard workers and managed to push through many postulates. They managed to get the communists to make Saturdays and Sundays days off, abolish the 4-brigade work system and set a minimum wage.
Upamiętniając 80. rocznicę wybuchu II wojny światowej.
As we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War, we can say we're finally getting the truth back. The truth which becomes clearer and clearer for the entire world. The truth which was memorably fought for by the miners of Upper Silesia and Zagłębie in 1980 and 1981. Today, after all these years, when we're finally free, may the East and West meet in Poland in a peaceful way. We, the representatives of the Western civilization, took the seat of this civilization through the dark times of the Second World War. It needs to be stated clearly, this is what Europe owes us.
To trzeba sobie jasno powiedzieć. To nam zawdzięcza Europa.
Hurricane Dorian has started to move northward towards the US after stalling over the Bahamas and causing widespread devastation. Millions of people in Florida and the southeast have been anxiously watching the storm.
The hurricane is currently located near the island of Grand Bahama. People are being alerted to stay in shelters. According to meteorologists, the hurricane stopped over the Bahamas, accompanied by heavy rain and catastrophic winds. Dorian devastated the Bahamas on Sunday night. The losses after the hurricane are huge, with about 13,000 houses having been damaged or completely destroyed. The U.S. National Hurricane Center informs that Dorian will slowly move towards Florida. The hurricane is also set to pass near the Georgia shoreline. The authorities have ordered the forced evacuation of residents of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina.
Thank you very much for joining me here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather. It's followed by the culture, history, and finally the travel.
Hello, and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. The forecast for tonight calls for showers in the central, southern, and eastern regions of the country, and with thunderstorms in Rzeszów and Lublin. The seacoast and western regions can expect partly cloudy skies. The temperatures tonight should vary between 9 to 13 degrees centigrade. Tomorrow, we should see some very fine weather, with partly cloudy skies in most of the major cities, and clear skies in Kraków. The coldest spots will be Rzeszów and Kraków at 21 degrees, and the warmest will be Poznań and Zielona Góra at 25 degrees centigrade. That is all for now. I invite you to stay with us and later on join us for Poland Daily Business.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight we report from Krynica, where economic forum is taking place. This is an annual event. This time we talk mainly about the development of Polish economy and about the various sectors of it. Our guest tonight is Tomasz Wróblewski of Warsaw Enterprise Institute. Sir, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
And you are going to talk about the senior development, or the people in later stage of their age, and how to use their professional experience, how to give them satisfaction from being within the people, doing something creative, doing something that matters.
Yeah, one of the traps, let's call it demographic traps, is that society is getting older and older. It's not only the shrinking itself, what happens to in Polish case, but it's also that we are getting older and older. By 2030, 40% of Polish society would be age of 60 and plus, and by 10 years later, 10 to 12% of Poles will be 80 plus. So the question is not only how to sustain retirement system and a health system and provide to those people, which will be very difficult, but also how to help those people help themselves, especially how to help people who are 50 plus, 60 plus, how they can organize their own place within a company structure, and how companies are changing themselves actually to find a spot and a working place for people with a lot of experience, a lot of human resources knowledge, and the potential to also help younger employees, but also we'll be concentrating on entrepreneurship for older people. Sometimes people who never been entrepreneurs themselves, who work for companies for years, but they gain a lot of knowledge they gain a lot of human experience, and they are quite able to, for example, open a franchise. So we'll see whole network franchises opening for seniority, for people 60 plus, who will be coming up with new business models for people who are actually coming into business with quite some money, with no debt, with a lot of potential, and with open eyes on new businesses.
But they are also risk averse. Normally, in the later stage of your life, you are less risk taker, and that also can affect ability to take business, because if you open a new business or you enter something that is new, you risk.
Yes, that's for sure. That's why I'm talking about some changing the perspective of the company. But you have quite several franchises who have quite large opportunities, especially in a country that's developing so fast and the labor market is developing so quick. So, for example, if you take a franchise of one of the largest oil distribution companies like Orlen, or you work with one of the retail small stores who are growing with such a speed. So your risk is minimal considering investment. The investments are not as substantial, and the risks are limited, because they are quite some time the companies themselves are trying to position either location or the need of additional investments.
Well, Poland 20 years ago was considered a young country or country of young people. Now we know that that was a false impression. And are we following the steps of the more developed countries like Japan or United States or England?
Well, we are not yet where Japan is. Japan has already 10% of people 80 plus. But this is the 25 countries in the world are in a position as Poland is, which is the demographic trap is irreversible. So we are heading there. The problem is not as much as how many older people we have and how fast, is much how we're gonna adjust. And it's also a case of migration. We have 2 million young people who migrated the West. And another question would be how to lure those people back when they already settled there. So, for example, in their 50s, for their seniority, after they retire in Germany, Great Britain, and France, how to make sure that they come to spend their retirement money.
That's an interesting perspective. So thank you very much for this conversation. Tomasz Wróblewski, Warsaw Enterprise Institute, and panelist here at Krynica Economic Forum.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business Weather. Tomorrow we should see some very fine weather with partly cloudy skies in most of the major cities and clear skies in Krakow. The coldest spots will be Rzeszów and Krakow at 21 degrees, and the warmest will be Poznań and Zielona Góra at 25 degrees. In Europe, we can expect clear skies in Lisbon, Vienna, Zagreb, Prague, Bratislava and Athens, and temperatures between 24 to 33 degrees centigrade. We can expect rain in Vilnius, Rome, Bern, Warsaw, and Dublin, and temperatures of 15 to 28 degrees centigrade. The rest of the continent can expect partly cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 21 to 37 degrees centigrade. That is all for tonight. I thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.
Dzień dobry Państwu, Emilia Pobłocka, zapraszam na program.
Good evening everyone, my name is Emilia Pobłocka and welcome to Gwiazdy w Republice.
W Polsce osoby, która nie znałaby piosenki, która choć raz nie usłyszałaby piosenki.
There are no people in Poland that don't know songs like Najwięcej witaminy mają polskie dziewczyny, Czy czuje pani czacze or Chłopcy radarowcy. Today my guest is Andrzej Rosiewicz, an artist who hasn't said goodbye to the music scene yet. Mr. Andrzej, welcome to the show.
Andrzej Rosiewicz, witam bardzo serdecznie. Powiedzmy o pana repertuarze, o pana muzyce.
Let's talk about your repertoire. You never tried to avoid political topics in your songs. One of your songs, titled Wieje wiosna ze wschodu, you played for Mikhail Gorbachev. What did this performance mean to you? This was a huge happening.
Czym dla pana wówczas był ten występ? To było wielkie wydarzenie.
Tak, ja za chwileczkę do tego wrócę.
I will tell you about it in a moment. I was trying to touch some political topics, but there was a censorship during socialism and there was no way to make fun of a red color.
Tak trochę rozrywkowo. Pozwalałem sobie, że wychodziłem. Z czerwonego nie wolno było żartować, wie pani.
Once I got up on stage dressed like a Bulgarian. I was wearing red gloves and I showed something like that. Or another time I just stood on stage and told jokes.
Powiedzonka albo żarty. Miałem często zakazy jakieś tam cenzuralne.
Was it risky?
Tak, bo to się ryzykowało, bo wie pani.
Yes, they didn't disqualify for that. They just gave you the entrance ban for 2 weeks or a month. But when I started to talk about politics, I was making jokes about it on stage. I was just like a court jester. I was making jokes, but I was serious about it.
I stańczyk i tak dalej. A stańczyk był wesoły, rozweselający, ale tam była powaga w nim wielka, wie pani. Ja na scenie żartuję.
Everyone knows Stańczyk, Matejko's painting. He sits and thinks about his homeland's fate. I was like that. Everyone should be. It's a pity I was born so late. Matejko would have painted me.
Do ludzi teraz też. Ja też jestem zatroskany losami ojczyzny i wszyscy musimy być zatroskani losami ojczyzny.
Let's now talk about 1988. I've observed Gorbachev for a year. I didn't do anything that was inconsiderate. The entire West was in love with him. And then I wrote a song called Mihail, Mihail. I performed the song at the Wawel Royal Castle in 1988. The highest authority had to decide whether I could do it or not.
Śpiewam na Wawelu w 88, ale żebym zaśpiewał do cara Rosji, ja mówię po imieniu, Michaił, Michaił. Ale potem był wykształconym, inteligentnym gościem.
It was a revolutionary song. Gorbachev was very well educated and intelligent. I met him after the concert. We shook hands. I had this giant bow tie with me.
Na wielkie okazje i miałem ją właśnie przygotowaną i mam, no tak, miałem na otwarcie.
They didn't invite me to the World Cup opening because I sang this song. Gorbachev is considered a traitor of the Soviet Union. I am considered as his helper.
A ja za jego pomocnika, no.
No,
to co pomocnika zdrajcę będą prosić.
A ta najnowsza piosenka, ten najnowszy utwór, tak jak...
Your latest song was about Zbigniew Ziobro. Now you wrote a song for Macierewicz?
Ale teraz dla Antoniego Macierewicza utwór.
No więc patrząc na Antoniego Macierewicza,
There are so many songs that would make Telewizja Republika's auditions more entertaining. I have them ready. These are my albums. I recorded 3. First one is called Gdy się naród budzi. I wrote it because I was disgusted with the election results. The second one called Bando Bando. And the third one, Po bandzie. There are many songs out there that people should hear. There was a ball at the Palace of Culture and Science in March or February. They wanted to destroy this building.
Dzieciństwo, pałac, na basen, chodziłem gdzieś tam, wie pani to? No jest ten wniosek, jego symbol komuny, żeby to rozebrać.
And my album, Ostatni Walc PKN, has 3 songs. The building is still standing, but I've already recorded an album. A song called Antek Come Back is about Macierewicz. I know him in person. I've been once on a cemetery and we met him there. We asked if we could be his security guards. He's an incredible man. He established KOR. Now that he lost his position, workers established Macierewicz Defense Committee, in Polish KOM.
Back.
No tak, i tak
Come back, to, Antek come back. Taki blues zasuwa i to taki, wie pan, chce się słuchać.
This blues makes me dance and sing, Mr. Minister. The best wishes.
Pozdrawiamy. Dobrze, bardzo panu dziękuję za ten...
Thank you very much for singing.
Tak krótko na koniec taki wątek prywatny, który mnie zainteresował.
Ale jeszcze książka
za chwilę
wyszła.
pokażę książkę, za chwilę.
My last question will concern your private life. You started your family at the age of 50. Why not earlier?
co było tego powodem? Czy jednak ta scena
A
pana
może
zupełnie
40,
pochłonęła?
nie, 40 lat minęło i
40 years have passed and then I decided to do so. My talent was the most important thing in my life.
pierwszy da Bogu dziękuję. To ksiądz powiedział Orzechowski, Andrzejusz, ty podziękowałeś za talent Bogu, jaki otrzymałeś.
One time, priest Orzechowski asked if I thanked God for my talent, and during the Polish Bands Festival in Germany, I did it.
Teraz jest czas, żeby podziękować. Obróciłem się do ołtarza. I wtedy
Trójka dzieci.
You have 3 kids. Are they also into music?
To jest, proszę pani, piękna żona, Iwona, no i trójka bardzo zdolnych dzieci.
A beautiful wife, Ivona, and 3 very talented kids. My son Andrzej plays piano, pieces of Chopin, Bach, and Beethoven. I also have siblings. One of them plays cello, the other one plays flute.
Adam Rosiewicz, Irenka flet poprzeczny, Adam wiolonczela. Proszę
Super.
So, in order to end our interview, can you tell us what is your recipe for a good mood and longevity?
Długowieczność.
Komórki macierzyste, makijaż permanentny.
Stem cells, permanent makeup, homogenized cream. I attended an amazing school. I was in the Latin class. In this class, I learned that homo means human.
Jak zrobię sobie maseczkę zhomogenizowanej,
So if I make a mask out of a homogenized cream, I look like a human being. And all of this energy, I was a scout, a sportsman.
były harcerz, były sportowiec, obecnie
Did the time of your youth have an impact on that?
Przekładają się
Także
na to.
Yes, and genes as well.
Państwu pokażę Andrzej Rosiewicz
I want to show this book titled Od niewoli do niewoli to our viewers.
Krajski. To jest książka o panu Andrzeju, jeżeli państwo...
It's about Mr. Andrzej. It's worth checking out if our interview is not enough for you.
Ale jeżeli państwo mają jeszcze niedosyt, to warto
Nic nas
zajrzeć
nie
do tej
goni, pani
publikacji.
redaktor.
Mnie gonią.
Słyszała pani Despacito.
Despacito, slowly.
Ulubiony artysta prezesa, Despacito, proszę pani.
Dobrze, żegnamy się z państwem.
właśnie,
Bardzo...
It's time to say goodbye.
Pożegnanie, jakieś mocne
proszę
pożegnanie,
państwa,
proszę.
ja przyszedłem tutaj do programu Republika. Ja właśnie jestem
I came here to Telewizja Republika as a cavalier and a buffoon. Good night, everybody.
Żegnam państwa.
No cóż, pan Andrzej.
Well, Mr. Andrzej has just left the studio. Thank you very much for watching. Our today's guest was Andrzej Rosiewicz, a dancer, musician and vocalist.
Też wokalist
Very handsome.
przystojny, właśnie.
Of course, very handsome.
Chyba jedyne takie wyjście z programu, które do tej pory miało miejsce.
It was a spectacular end of a show. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I encourage you to read the book. Good night.
Za tydzień o tej samej porze. Do widzenia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we are discussing the events of World War II and the consequences for the Polish nation. We are in the Ochota district of Warsaw, right in front of the monument dedicated to the soldiers who held up the Germans for 19 days on September 1939. The historian, Dr. Krzysztof Jabłonka, will guide us through this turbulent time in Polish history. On September the 1st, 1939, Germany attacked Poland, and I was wondering if you can tell me how the initial clash looked like.
Pamiętajmy, że granica Polski z Niemcami była płonącą granicą co najmniej od końca 1938 roku.
Let us remember that the Polish border with Germany had been a burning point at least since the end of 1938. German provocations were happening all the time. They were intentional, while Poles did their best not to be provoked by the Germans, even as they saw the subversive troops approaching the Polish border from Germany, they would not attack first. It was only when the border was breached that Polish troops were obliged to react. Such a super provocation, which was supposed to justify the attack on Poland in the eyes of the German society, was the famous Gliwice provocation.
Zawiera ona dwa elementy. Pierwsze to użycie jeńców czy więźniów niemieckich, a więc rodowitych Niemców, jako tak zwane sardynki.
It consisted of two elements. The first was the use of German prisoners, native Germans, as so-called sardines. That meant they were people to be killed, dressed up in Polish uniforms and ordered to attack a radio station through which those specially prepared people, speaking in broken Polish, were to announce the outbreak of the 4th Silesian Uprising, calling on the Polish population via the radio to take up arms against Germany.
Polskę, gdyż Niemcy nie mogą już znieść takich właśnie prowokacji.
Of course, the reaction to that was to be an invasion on Poland, because the Germans could no longer stand such provocations. As there was a lack of Polish provocation, the Germans decided to replace Poles in this scenario. And the second element, unforeseen by German propagandists, was the fact that when reading aloud the lands, which the Poles allegedly wanted to recover, the border on Nysa and Odra rivers were mentioned.
I ta granica stała się realna w 1945. Jakby wywróżono sobie samemu przyszłą granicę.
And this border became a reality in 1945, as if the future border had been marked out for itself. In this way, it can be said that a well-deserved punishment met the war-provoking Germans. On September 1st, 1939, saboteurs were the first to violate the border and start warfare. Between 12 o'clock at night, on the 1st of September, and 4:45, which was the time of the attack set by Hitler, they crossed the border in various places, locating themselves at the back of numerous bridges and tunnels to shoot those Poles who would defend the country in the back. They did that so that Poles would not have the time to blow up the bridges or destroy the tunnels. These saboteurs did indeed reveal themselves in many places. Fortunately, Poles also used the trap, and by sending the first units, they sent the second ones behind them, and the Germans were trapped, usually dying immediately.
Wysyłając pierwsze oddziały, za nimi wysłali drugie i Niemcy dostali się w krzyżowy ogień, najczęściej ginąc od razu. Atak wyznaczony był na godzinę 4:45.
The attack was scheduled for 4:45, but the weather was great that day. It was sunrise at the time. Let's remember that in Poland it was 5:45, there was a time difference. Planes taking off from field airports were so close to the borders that the first wave of bombing planes arrived over the city of Wieluń 5 minutes too early. Bombs were dropped on a defenseless city, which was also known to have neither military facilities nor the army stationed there. The city was destroyed in almost 80% and became the first victim of the Second World War. Exactly at 4:45 German time, the commander of the armored ship Schleswig-Holstein issued the order fire, and all barrels fired towards the Polish transshipment facility on Westerplatte, which means Western Plain, on the port of Gdańsk. A 7 days fair battle began, in which the Poles performed a miracle.
Rozpoczęła się 7-dniowa zażarta walka, w której Polacy dokonali cudu. 160 żołnierzami.
160 soldiers defended themselves against 6,000 German soldiers. Eventually, when Westerplatte had to capitulate on September the 7th, German commanders saluted in proof of the courage shown by Poles, and the German general Brauchnitt gave a saber to the Polish commander, Captain Sucharski, as proof of respect for him for such heroic defense. The hidden hero of this battle was Franciszek Dąbrowski, who at the time of serious illness of the commander took over the command and extended the defense by 6 days. It is worth mentioning that, according to Polish plans, Westerplatte was to defend itself for only 24 hours. It was to surrender as early as September 2nd. Meanwhile, it surrendered at the end of September 7th, 1939.
Miało się bronić tylko dobę, 24 godziny. Miało skapitulować już 2 września. Skapitulowało pod koniec 7 września.
It was the first spectacular defense, followed by about 80 border posts, of which the most outstanding was the defense of Hungarian Hill, or Węgierska Górka, the defense of God's Mountain, or Boża Góra in Silesia, and finally the defense of the Bory Tucholskie, and the famous 4-day defense of Mława, which fell only because that year the marshes dried up in Mazuria.
Bagna wokół Mazur.
But Poland wasn't only attacked from the west. On September 17th, the Soviet Red Army also invaded Poland. And I was wondering if you can tell me how the world reacted to that incident.
Pamiętajmy, że wojnę poprzedził układ Ribbentrop-Mołotow.
Let us remember that the war was preceded by the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, in which a secret protocol clearly stated that the Russians had committed themselves to invade Poland at about the same time, with a slight delay. Stalin waited for quite a long time until he learned what the results of the Abbeville arrangements were, that the Poles would be left alone, that there would be no war between France and Germany, at least not immediately. Therefore, it was only on September 16th that he gave the order to his army at 3:15, September 17th, to cross the border at all points. More than 500,000 army poured in from the east, destroying every point of resistance, and it must be said that the Polish Border Protection Corps resisted heroically, often alone. To this day, for example, we do not know what happened to the defenders of Łuniec, a fortress in Polesia, which was completely destroyed by the Bolsheviks, and any trace of it was eradicated from history.
Zaginął. Bardzo poważne zarzuty, również Polacy, przeciwnicy rządzących w Polsce Piłsudczyków, stawiali polskiemu prezydentowi, polskiemu...
Those Poles who were opposed to the Piłsudski rulers in Poland also very seriously accused the Polish president, the head of the armed forces, as well as Marshal Rydz-Śmigły and the Polish government of abandoning Poland and crossing the border with Romania. Meanwhile, the truth is exactly the opposite. The Polish government did indeed evacuate east, as German forces proceeded from the west, and already near Krzemieniec, where the famous high school was located, the Soviet ambassador, on the pretext of receiving some directives, withdrew abroad to the Soviet border, which gave thought that aggression was approaching. Eventually, the government, together with the diplomatic corps, moved to the further southeast point of Poland, to the town of Kuty on Cheremos River. There he intended to continue until the arrival of enemy troops. But that very day, much after the aggression, in the evening came the disturbing news from the Romanians that the Soviet army was gathering on the border of the Dniester River, that they could cross it at any time, and from the other side, from the Romanian side, and take the Polish government captive. At that time, we were aware that both the President, the Prime Minister, all the ministers and the Commander-in-Chief, Rydz-Śmigły, were facing a death similar to that which would happen to soldiers in Katyń. In the light of this news and the sharp reactions of Polish military, the government decided after the last meeting at 5 p.m., after the aggression, to leave Poland.
Reakcje polskich wojskowych rząd postanowił po ostatnim posiedzeniu o godzinie 17 wieczór, już po agresji, opuścić teren Polski.
And indeed, a cavalcade of Polish cars with diplomats and ministers crossed the border bridge over the Cheremos River. The commander-in-chief remained. He crossed the bridge several times. Romanians did not notice his presence on their territory. Finally, he returned to Poland, sending the last messages from the radio station placed there to the other units, so that they would cease war operations with the Soviets. He began with the words, "Don't fight with the Soviets. Withdraw unless they start engaging with us." It wasn't until 3:30, September 18th, that is on the second day of the war with the Soviets, that he finally crossed the border and was interned by the Romanian authorities, because he sent one more message from Romania, which violated the convention concluded with them.
Z terenu Rumunii nadał jeszcze jeden komunikat, a tym naruszył konwencję.
It can be said briefly that Poles have used all their available possibilities. The Romanians beautifully described a moment when the Polish army crossed the bridge, taking a handful of Polish soil with them to be buried under this handful of Polish soil if they had to die in exile. Everyone also confirms that the Polish army crossed the bridge in a parade of steps, singing the last independence song, "Poland is not yet lost."
Defiladowym krokiem przekroczyło ten most, śpiewając ostatnią pieśń niepodległą. Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła.
As we have seen today, the Second World War had devastating consequences for Poland. Despite the country's best effort to fend off the German aggressors, Poland was occupied first by the Germans and then the Soviet Union until 1989. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another series of episodes in Poland Daily Travel. What's better to do on a bright, sunny summer's day than light out for the country? And that's just what we did. There are so many interesting and cool places near Warsaw to go and see. That makes a day trip full of adventure and surprises. We went west, first to Ożarów Mazowiecki, then cross-country. Nearby Sochaczew was the scene of the Battle of Bzura River in September 1939. The last Polish cavalry charge defeated German infantry. There's a museum and the ruins of the castle of the Dukes of Mazovia. Another cross-country jaunt and we come to Brochów on the Bzura River. There's a beautiful church with the design of a castle. Chopin's parents married here at the turn of the 19th century. So it's westward ho from Warsaw for Poland Daily Travel. Stay with us and sit back and enjoy the ride. Poland Daily Travel, your favorite travel programming about Poland.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Poland Daily. I'm here with Nick and we're walking in the park as you can see. But I wanted to talk about not walking, but riding and not horses.
Cycling.
You don't ride horses, do you?
Not for a long time.
No.
But I can ride a horse, obviously.
You know how. But
I know how.
You're a cowboy, I knew that, yeah.
Well, we don't really have cowboys where I come from.
English, a Yorkshire cowboy?
No, we don't have many cowboys in Yorkshire. We tend to ride in a slightly different way, but...
Okay. Well, I don't think I want to go into that.
No. Well, you train your horses differently as well. It's all very...
Yes?
Sort of more, yes, it's more casual where you'll come from. Never mind.
We're much more casual.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, never mind. But, no, what I wanted to talk about was bicycling, because you're a big bicycle rider.
Yeah, I enjoy cycling, yes, and there's some fantastic cycle routes in and around Warsaw.
Yeah,
you've cycled out here.
Well, yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about it is because there are a lot of great cycling routes. You do a lot of cycling, so do I. And people who come and visit here need to know that. For example, the only reason I know that this place was here is because I came upon it on my bicycle when I was doing quite a long ride recently. And in fact, we're going to see some of the places I went to on that ride.
Scouting my bike. Like
yeah,
Will
scouting
Richards.
my bike. It's odd. I know it seems strange nowadays, but actually, I find when I'm in a place, I like to walk.
Yeah, exactly. You see
or
much
I like
more.
to ride a bike.
Exactly.
You know? Because somehow, when you're in a car,
it just shoots by. You don't see anything.
Yeah, and you have no sense of where of the passage of time, the changing of the countryside. You don't feel it. It's like, well, the plane is an absolute time machine, but the car is some kind of
half-time machine.
Yeah, or it's certainly a transporter. And the way that a bicycle is just conveyance. And like
bicycle is, and of course you're getting exercise as well, so you're killing two birds with one stone.
And you're getting some exercise. And you know, you can go a long way. If you're prepared to take a whole day, you can go quite a long way, and you don't have to kill yourself. You can stop for meals, you can stop and have a good time.
Exactly.
Relaxing, seeing historical markers, because there's no point, I think, in doing these long trips if you don't enjoy the scenery.
Well, exactly.
Right?
Otherwise it just becomes a blur. You might as well sit at home and watch it on video.
Correct. Yeah. So where do you like to cycle when you?
Well, there's some very nice cycle paths in Warsaw, certainly down by the river.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one circuit I do. I like to I live in northern Warsaw, so I go up to the Northern Bridge, down along the river, cut across, then do a large circuit around the suburbs and come up the other side. And it's about 80 kilometres, 50 miles. Circuit, 3 hours of nice cycling.
You cross the Vistula?
Yes, and then come back and on the Świętokrzyska bridge.
There are a lot of paths there.
There are a lot of paths. I mean, there's a very useful map you can download from the city authority, which shows you the cycle paths. It shows you where they are. It shows you the surfaces they're made out of, so you can really plan some nice routes. But also getting out of town is great. I like to go north towards the Campinos forest. And there's a very nice, on a road, now you can go in the Campinos on a mountain bike, but there's also a very nice circuit you can do, which takes you on a road if you have a road bike.
Right.
And you go through the forest on a very small but a proper road, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And
not much traffic.
The whole time you're on a road?
The whole time you're on the road,
You must explain to me where that is, because I went through there recently. I did the whole forest from Brochów where we're going to visit in a subsequent episode today. Beautiful church there, by the way, and lovely river. We'll talk about the battle that was there, etc. It's exciting. I start to think about it. It's a lot of fun. But going through the park all the way from that western end to Truskov on the eastern end.
Right.
Which we went to Truskov in a previous episode. Beautiful there. Very nice cultivated pasture land and beautiful forest contiguous to it or connected to it. But I'd like to know exactly, is it near Campinos?
Yes,
or?
we actually go through the Campinos forest. There's a road, there's a couple of little tiny, not even hamlets. Well, not
Do you know what?
Hamlet.
We might even find that in a subsequent episode.
Yes, and you go through it. So if you've got a road bike,
yeah.
you can do it on a road bike.
Super.
But it's when you get to the forest, it's fantastic. And it's really a quiet road, proper paved road through the forest. Lovely.
There are a lot of farms in the forest.
Exactly, as opposed to go through the forest on the forest trails on your mountain bike. If you want to do a road bike, you want to do. And again, that, from where I live in northern Warsaw, that's another 80 kilometre, which is 50 miles in our distance, which is a very nice Sunday morning run, and you feel you've earned your beer at the end of it.
You've earned a beer?
Well, I think it's better if you earn your beer, isn't it? You don't just want to drink it, but yes,
That's
earn your
correct.
beer.
But do you ever have a beer as you're driving your bike?
I mean,
occasionally you'll stop for a little.
Yes, well, if you stop,
to ease the pain.
If you go on a long journey, let's say to where Chopin's birthplace is, which is there and back.
We might go there today.
Yeah, which there and back is about 100 odd kilometres. Then obviously at the halfway stage, you want to stop for a bite to eat and a glass of beer.
Yeah, sounds good. Poland Daily Travel. We'll be back with more exciting stuff with me and Nick as we move on our journey following my recent bicycle trip. Okay, come on. Hello everybody, and our next stop on Poland Daily Travel is here at the Palace Complex in Radiowice. We're not that far from Warsaw, and yet this place remains a kind of a secret destination for tourists. But Penny Eva, the director, has told us that we're going to have a complete tour here coming up on Poland Daily Travel. Not in this episode or the next one, but coming up very soon, we're going to come back and do the whole place. And it's really a beautiful place. You can see the house behind us. Right now, they're having a Chopin piano practice for the competition. There's a worldwide competition every year, and they're practicing here inside. Pianists from all over the world are here. And it's a special place. There's also, across the street, we have a Dvor and a sort of Skansen complex, which is showing what life was like outside of the palace, 200 years ago, something like that. At any rate, it's a beautiful lake here, and it's one of the nicest spots that you can find as you travel around the Warsaw environment. So I want you to watch when we come back to the palace at Radiowice outside Warsaw, and it's upcoming in September. So stay with Poland Daily Travel. I'm Will, and stick with us for the next exciting episode. We're moving on. The environment's west of Warsaw. Lots of good day trips for you when you visit the Polish capital. Stay tuned. Poland Daily, we do it for you.